Rahman Rahim. As usual, we will like to start from the summary of the previous lecture. It is necessary to just give you that what we did in the previous lecture and what we are going to cover this. I am sure you are well aware of this, that how the discipline of public administration developed over time, how it was conceived among different societies in different eras, and who is the father of the public administration discipline, how and the American thinks and how the other world thinks about this. So we gave, and at the end, that was the crux of all the discussion, that were the Catherine's 12 points of the public administration. You can see that it was one of the drop from each definition, and ultimately he incorporated in his 12 points, and he explained for this. We also talked about the significance of the public administration. It is now above board that the public, if we want to change the fate of the nation, any of the nation, it is the public administration who can change this, although there are other factors that can be complemented to this. But every time it is the talk of the town that people are saying that no, government is nothing. As they say that the government is nothing, government kahin dikhai nahi de rahi. The indirectly they are saying that the government is ineffective. So as the government becomes ineffective, resources go into the waste, and the resources are limitedly, particularly for the developing nations, very scarce resources, and if we are unable to utilize them, then we say that this is not the proper allocation of the resources. Now what we will start today, right after this brief introduction, we are going to talk about the meaning of the bureaucracy. Before going to the first formal slide, I would like to make it crystal clear that still our discussion is very general. We started from the early 19th century, and if we are thinking that we are in the course of public administration in Pakistan, and Pakistan came only into being in 1947, it is not necessary to learn to get the true idea of a discipline. We should start from its origin. So we were in this phase. Now I am talking about the bureaucracy. What is the meaning of the bureaucracy? What is the bureaucratic structure, behavior in Pakistan? We will discuss on different stages and on continuously in all of our lecture, and you see that many times we get some example from this and we continue for this. Until 20th century, not a very large detail of this as was the public administration, because this is the part of the public administration. 20th century and the dissemination of the German sociologist Mark Weber's theory of bureaucracy. The Mark Weber gave the theory of the bureaucracy in the mid-20th. There was not much interest in theory of public administration. Before this, as he gave this theory of bureaucracy, very interesting theory, defining the true role of the bureaucracy, criticizing the previous one, giving some future dimension, and particularly giving the more important, the focus of the bureaucracy, what it should be. Before this, there was not much interest in the discipline of public administration. The field is multidisciplinary in character. Now we have to clear it that the bureaucracy as well as the public administration, it is a multidisciplinary character. One of the various proposals for public administration subfield sets out 6 pillars. What should be the 6 pillars for this? Including human resource, it should be the part of this. Organizational theory, how the organization runs, policy analysis, statistics, and budgeting ethics. These should the things that a bureaucracy should know. Or in other words, as the public administration is totally dependent, or it includes all the bureaucracy, we say that this building should be standing on 6 of the pillar human resources. Very important part of this, that the human resource play a pivotal role in any of the policy, in any of the development, in any of the implementation of any of the order. The organizational theory that is well known to everyone. They give a systematic and a defined mechanism in which the behavior of the organization should be followed. It should not be too autocratic, it should not be totally loosely administered. There should be a you can say the given importance to each and everyone. Policy analysis, definitely no policy is ultimately the final. There should be analysis that whether it is going according to the terms and conditions or not. There should be statistics. The bureaucracy should be given some of the statistics to impress the people, that whether to give, not the impress, to give a true picture whether something is being achieved. It is another way to quantify the qualitative things. And the budgeting definitely the bureaucracy should be well aware of the budgeting and ethics. All these things are not true part of our Pakistani bureaucracy. We will discuss it on later stage. The many meanings of bureaucracy. The first is the bureaucracy is the totality of government. These people says that all the government offices or bureaus where these public servants are, this is all bureaucracy. No one is person, no one department. They are talking about the totality, and they say that all the persons sitting in all the offices, bureaus, departments, they are the part of the bureaucracy, and that constitute the permanent government of the state. And when we include all this, it becomes that this is the state government. The second is different from it. The bureaucracy refers to the all public officials of a government, both high level and low, elected and appointed. Here the elected are not included in the first meaning of the bureaucracy. In the second meaning, elected as well as the appointed are also included in this, because in America when the president is selected, he can give many, he can appoint many of his public servants that help to him. You can say it is the team of the president. In Pakistan, the situation is a bit different. In Pakistan, ministers can be, definitely they are on the part of the, on the opinion of the chief executive, that is the prime minister. But then there is the public servants. These are the secretaries, deputy secretaries. The prime minister has the power to reshuffle this, to appoint any of the one. But most of the time they come on by the systematic process. And if there is overstepping or the other situation, then it is criticized. The third meaning of bureaucracy is often used as a general invective to refer to any inefficient organization encumbered by red tape. Whenever we listen the word bureaucracy, immediately one thing comes to our mind. We think that there is some slow process. We are right. You are also right to take this. There is a red tapeism. Red tapeism, what this means, the files start from here to there to there. For example, from research officer to senior research officer to the deputy secretary, and many steps. And unfortunately, if it is rejected only by a very small reason, it takes the same routes to come down, and again it is corrected by the finally. Every person will be writing comments on this and marking it to other one. This is the red tapeism. And the third meaning of this is that as we call about the bureaucracy, we think that this is the inefficient organization system. This is the last slide on this. Bureaucracy refers to a specific set of structural arrangement. As in the case of public administration, the name of Stein and Woodrow Wilson, those are important. But here, in the case defining the term bureaucracy, Max Weber is more important. What he says, bureaucracy refers to specific set of structural arrangement. What does his structural arrangements? I think he is talking about the divisions of the administration, the grades and whatsoever. Bureaucrats are free as individuals. Now he is defining that although there are some of the compulsion within the discipline, or you can say the code of conduct or rule of the game, but they are also human beings. They should be treated free. They should not be that they should be burdened in such a way that they become that they are slaves. There should be hierarchy. Bureaucracy, when there is the name of the bureaucracy, it immediately comes in this way, that here is the top official and the others are following. This is the bureaucracy rule of, definitely, as we will be going from, if we were starting from a union council administrator, we will keep on going, and ultimately here we will find the prime minister. That is the chief executive, and if we confine over time ourselves to only bureaucracy, we will find it here the secretary. Secretary is the, you can say, the head of his department. Clearly specified functions. Bureaucracy, and the other meaning is that each bureaucrat should know his function. Freedom of hiring. Again, the role of merit, that the bureaucrats should be selected or appointed not on the nepotism, not on the political affiliation, but they should be appointed purely on the basis of the merit. And each, for example, if I have to select 4 or 5% for my team, I should be totally independent, because this is my ultimate. No doubt their mechanism is there. Most of the time in Pakistan, when our cricket team lose a match, you will see at the end the critics are making criticism that the captain is not satisfied with the selection of the team. So the bureaucrat, the person who is responsible for any of the activity, he should be giving complete independence to choose his team. I am not talking about this that he should go to a village, a captain should go to a village and pick out one of the person. Although if there are 15 or 16 players that are selected by the team, now he should be, the captain should be given more weightage when he is going to select any of his team. Appointment by merit. These are two interwoven. I have explained. I will not go for this. Due compensation and due process. There are many reasons for poor performance of bureaucracy in Pakistan. One of the reasons is that the public sector salaries are too low. Although in the previous government, PP government, ignoring all other its drawbacks, it increased the salaries of the public administrator many times. Due compensation, because if I get enough money that is sufficient to fulfill my basic needs easily, then I will be totally concentrating on my work. But if I have to run here and there for the other purposes, it will create the problem, and now I will have to spare time. It means my concentration will be not concentrated, my concentration will be separated, and I will be going for this or that. Due process. Each compensation should be given process. Process here two means, the selection process and the remuneration, or then the other is that the salary mechanism or the incentive mechanism. Again, I would like to say that when there is the turn of the bonus, the people who never contribute to the organization, they get the bonus, because they are very near to the higher hierarchy, higher people who was the bureaucrats. advancement by merit or seniority. Nowadays in Pakistan you can see that due to the activism of the judiciary, now this trend is getting roots. In the previous year, still it is not fully implemented in Pakistan, but previously what happened, everyone was selecting the judges and whatsoever due to his own political affiliation, ignoring the merit. Now the system is smoothly. I am satisfied with the system, although many problems there, economic problem, social problem, education problem, many problems there, but still one significant factor that we are moving in the right direction. We are now you can see that if there is change of, there is exploitation of the merit, people immediately go against it and they say that what is happening this, why this happening this, and what why, and media cries for this, judges come into action, and ultimately at least government get some hesitation before taking such kind of actions by ignoring the merit, although it is happening, but its level of scale has decreased, not significantly, but up. Now our discussion is entering into the totally new domain, that is the approaches to study of public administration. There are 6 very important approaches that how they see the public administration. We will see these approaches, their drawbacks, the other things, and we will keep on this. There is an extensive and intensive literature on all of these approaches. I have chosen the very selective one. You are suggested to go for any suggested book, and you will find that this. What is the behavioral approach? It says, I will be explaining this. Behavioral approach says that report what the people are doing. No normative, they should do this, they should they should do this or they should not do this. No use of scientific method and many other things. Then is a systematic approach, that is called the systems approach. Then there is ecological approach. This is also an approach to study the discipline of public administration. Now it is a new approach, and you will see that how it includes the ecology. Structural functional approach, that how there should be the structure and function. Public choice approach, contingency approach. These are 6 approaches that are well known in literature, but you can't say that these are only 6 approaches. There are many other approaches. If you are interested, you get time, and you should get time, you should go for these approaches. The first is approaches to study the public administration. According to the academia, the field of public administration consists of a number of subfields. Before going to the behavioral approach, here I am giving you some of the background. So I am giving you the definition that the academics have given. They say that the field of public administration consists of number of subfields. What are the fields? Scholars have proposed a number of different set of subfields. It means, according to the academia, that the public administration is not a whole. It is a whole, but it consists of many of the subwholes. One of the proposed model uses 5 pillars. According to this, one is the model that uses 5 pillars, and it is constructed on this way that there are 5 subfields, and these pillars are the part of that. Human resource management. In all the discipline, in all the bureaucracy, in all public administration, human resource, HRM, this is the most important and more effective. आपके resources पड़े, everything is there, but your resources are, human resources not managed. Human resource management here also means the human resource development, and this is the most difficult part of the management of the public administration. If you are public administration, people are not the machines. they have their own style. There is a difference between the personality, style and everything. So the people take, when come from different origin, they cannot be treated one size fit the all. So the human resource development management is the part of the definition given by this academia is an in-house structure that ensures that public service staffing is done in unbiased. Look at the words unbiased, ethical and value-based manner. If you just, I think you have guessed that every good definition of public administration, every pillar, we are reaching in this way or that way, they are concentrating on the merit, ethics and the values. So similar is happening here. They are saying that human resource management, how it is possible. If you are manager, if you are giving, if you will give extra or you out of the way support to any of the person, the other will also, it will open a Pandora box. अगर आपने कोई किसी को फैसिलिटी देनी है तो सबको दे दें. If you are not interested, do not pick and choose. If you will make this choice, although you have the authority and there is a rampant unemployment in Pakistan, and as you fire employee, you can get another employee. Even now PhDs are available. If you say CF to one of the PhD doctor, the others are available in the market. But it doesn't mean that you should keep on doing this. You should be unbiased, neutral, umpire. If umpire is biased, the game is not going to be played in a positive way. Ethical. Ethics are always there. Keep the limits of your employees. It is, I am talking about the bureaucrats, who are at the higher level. They should be well aware of your employees. If you give a person 24-hour time work and you want to be done it in only 1 or 2 days, definitely he is not machine. He is not computer that you just click and this happened. He has limitation, he has family, he has resource constraint. So the bureaucrat should be well aware of this. If you are following these points, you are going to manage the more critical and the most difficult part of the public administration. There should be values also. Ethics is different from the values. There are cultural values, there are human values. They should be treated in a positive way. They should not be treated as the servant. They are also human being. What is the second pillar on which this the approaches stand? The other is the organizational theory. In public administration, the study of the structure of government entities and many particulars inculcated in them. What is the organizational theory? Simply the study of the mechanism of the governance, how it is being implemented, how it is this. We will talk about a lot we will even talk about from Lance Naik to Lieutenant General. We will talk about the research officer to the secretary. We will talking about many of the things, and this is the organizational theory that says that this is we should be knowing what is the structure and how many there are the entities, who is the head, how he is being selected, how many employees he has to serve or control, and all this is called the organizational theory. Then the ethics in public administration serve as a normative approach to decision making. What is the normative approach? That when you are following the ethics, it means you are incorporating, you are suggesting something. And as you will suggest, your science will become normative science, not the positive science. So these approaches, study of public ethics in public administration, serve as a normative approach to decision making. When you are making the decision making, you should be normative in a way that you should keep an eye on the ethical values that are there. Policy analysis. I am fortunate to have a very high reputed conference a few days back of the policy analysis, and I came to know that it was convened in Nepal. It was 5 days, and the speakers just kept on the policy analysis. So it has become more critical, because in the previous year there was just on the formation of the policy that the policies should be made. Now the significance of the criticism has also been recognized, and it is that there should be policy analysis. Why there should be policy analysis? I am sure you will say that to improve the situation of this. If you will analyze, you will see the drawbacks, and you will plug the loopholes that will be happening there. Then there is public budgeting. Public budgeting is the activity within a government that seeks to allocate scarce resources among unlimited demands. Look at this. What is this? This is world. These are our demands, and these are our resources. Rather than it should be seeming like this one, that the resources have less weight and the demands are limited. So what this means? It means when the resource, every person, this is my claim, that every person starting from you and me to Zardari, Nawaz Sharif, Bill Gates, every person has limited resources. When the income increases, the other desires and the demands also increase. So this, the policy and the public budgeting, budget is, it means a scarce document. You listen about everything that the government of Pakistan presents its budget at the last month of the fiscal year that ends on the 30th June. So then there is, what is this? The resources are limited that we get from the loans, from taxes तो खैर है ही नहीं, अब तो सारा लोन पे ही काम चल रहा है, but it is dangerous. It is not just a joke, it is extremely dangerous, and you are looking, the government is just going printing of money, and inflation is rising like a rocket, and it is destroying the all activities. Particularly it is hitting the poorest segment of the society that should be saved. And one of the definition of the public administration, I remember that to save the poor or the weaker proportion of the society. So the budgeting, when there is a budget, income, and then there are the expenditure. Expenditure are always higher than the income when there is estimate. So what we say, either we cut the expenditure to some extent, either we arrange some extra resources. Look at here, for example, this is income. For example, Pakistan's income is 50, in budget public income is 50 million, and the 60 million, these are the expenditure. Now 10 million gap. How this can be fulfilled? Two methods, either one or both. या तो आप जो है ये एक्सपेंडिचर साइड जो है, ये इनकम साइड, इसको बढ़ा दें और इसको 60 पे ले जाएं. Get loan from the other countries, print money, float bonds, whatsoever it is your headache. Either you can cut the expenditure. I know, can I ask that is it easy to cut the expenditure? आपके घर में जहाँ पर expenditure set हो जाते हैं, it is a psychological theory of consumption behavior that it is very, very difficult for a household to come down at the consumption of the previous year or the previous period. So when this is, there is equivalent, then within these resources, for example, I say that the situation is 55 and 55. $55 million are the income, $55 million is the consumption. Now in consumption, there are many, many departments: education, health, environment, labor, army, establishment, police, many resources are there. So how to allocate these resources? This is another very difficult task. So it should be allocated according to their importance. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, the most budget goes to, now there are two items that are consuming our more than 70% of the budget. For example, if our budget is 100 rupee, 47 goes to the interest payment, all about 50, and around about 20 to 25 it goes to the army. So what is left? I suppose that 20 goes to the army, 50 goes to the interest payment, then there are 30 rupees from each 100. So we have to address the well-being of all the 180 million people with only 30% of the total budget. International public administration, I would like to extend your span, and I am giving you some of the organization here so that you should know about the name of this, that are talking about the globalization of the public administration. There are several organizations that are active. The first is the Commonwealth Association of Public Administration and Management, CAPM. The Commonwealth Association of Public Administration and Management, and this is its size, is perhaps the most diverse. It has 54 members states of the Commonwealth. Commonwealth, you know, the countries that were at any time the colonies of the Great Britain. So the 54%, this was the simplest definition of the Commonwealth country. 55, there are 55 members. So if you are interested, you should study this CAPM, that how they are talking about this. Covering India to Nehru, its biannual conference brings together Minister of Public Service, top officials and leading scholars in the field. What is its purpose? One of its beauty is that it doesn't only include the rich country, or it doesn't include only the developing countries. It includes all the countries. All the countries mean the rich countries as well as the poor countries. 54 members, and countries are largest from India to Nehru. And what is the purpose of this? It has two conferences in a year, biannual conferences, where public servants from each country, top officials of related field, and leading scholars like you people, they constitute this these conference, and there is highly debate. They talk about their problem, they learn from the experience of the developed nation, they try to follow some of the model, they give their in their own inputs, and ultimately then there is improvement. International of Public Administration, the oldest is the oldest is the International Institute of Administrative Sciences, based in Brussels, Belgium. This is the oldest of the international. There are many other public administration institutes, but at the international level, this is the latest. You should be aware of this. This is called IIAS. IAS, International Institute of Administrative Sciences, Belgium. It provides a space for exchange that promote knowledge and practices to improve the organization and operation of public administration. When the scholars from all over the world come here, what they learn, they conduct the workshop, and they teach the public administrators that how to increase their efficiency, how to organize the resources, how to operate the management, and in this way they try to allow each and every, particularly the developing nation, to get benefit from the experiences of the rich countries. It ensures that public agencies will be in a position to better respond to the current and future expectations and needs of the society. Why they call the public agencies only? They do not call the private agencies. Public agencies have more knowledge, and they think that they are in a better position to the current and future expectation and needs of the society. Government institutions have large data. They know ये कोई इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि despite knowing they are unable to deliver. But if someone claims that they do not know this, it is not correct. The government has more information. Sometimes governments launches in Pakistan the Benazir Income Program, that is the BISP, that has contributed lot. Its volume is very large. Still it is highly debatable and criticism that it is not being done in a more transparent ways. There is political affiliation. The people who get money, they are not necessarily the poor, but they are the close person to the authorities. Now we will start the first approach, that is the behavioral approach. First we will see that how it works, and then we will have a very small criticism on this. Behavioralism is an approach in political science which emerged in 1930s in United States. Everyone should remember that in 1930 there was a Great Depression in the United States. Many people were unemployed. There was large supplies, low demands, and the markets, there was total the market failures. And the government was criticized by its policies for this, and despite taking different methodologies, government was unable to get rid of this. And then there was the emergence of the Keynes theories that were totally different from the classical theories, and he led from the front and he told that what is the process to get rid of this. So this behavioralism approach of the political science, it emerged from the United States in the 30s. It represents a sharp break from previous political science. Sharp break. If the previous political is going in this way, it is a sharp, different term from the previous, as they were different approaches to study public administration before 1930s. It gave a new phenomena and new concept to study. This is because what is the difference? It emphasizes an objective, quantified approach to explain and predict political behavior. All the objective of all the approaches is to predict the political behavior. But this is because it's emphasizes an objective oriented and quantified approach to explain and predict. ये नहीं है कि this will happen. To measure in a concrete way, it means it was the implementation or incorporation of the quantitative techniques on the qualitative analysis. It was preferred, and it was more concrete as compared to the other one. It is associated with the rise of the behavioral sciences modeled after the natural sciences. It is totally associated with the behavioral sciences that explain the behavior of human being in one way or the other: economic behavior, psychological behavior, consumption behavior, this public administration behavior. And it was modeled after the natural science. It tried to be, because it was using the here, you can see the quantified, to it followed the natural the approaches that were used in the natural sciences to study the phenomena. So it was following on that grounds. Behavioralism seeks to examine the behavior, action and acts of individual. Look at this. Behavior, actions and acts of individual. Individual constitute the whole. It is at micro level. When it becomes on the macro level, it becomes the whole institution or the public administration. So the what the behavioral approach seeks, it examines the behavior of what each and every individual, their actions in different circumstances. For example, if they are in the tough time, there is relaxation time, and acts, that how they act from different commands, what is their reaction or action. Rather than the characteristic of institution, this is the much difference from it will such as legislature, executive and justice this is linked from here to here कि institution पर जोर देने की बजाय it is considering the individual, because it is based on the fact that the individual constitutes the institution. It is true. What is this? It is from micro to macro level. You can say it is studied from micro to macro, or you can say it is from individual to totalitarian, or you say individual to collectivism. So that the study the individual rather than the characteristic of institutions such as, ये इसमें दिलचस्पी नहीं है कि इसकी behavioral approach की, what is the structure of the legislature, what is the structure of or the characteristic of the institutions like the judiciary or the executive. It is totally based, it totally deals with the behavior of the individual, and groups in different social settings and explain this behavior as it relates to the political system. This is the three parts of this behavioral approach. This one also, this one. पहला क्या है कि ये सिर्फ इंडिविजुअल पे कंसंट्रेट करती है. The second one is that it is not much interested in studying the characteristic of the institution like legislature, executive or judiciary, and further when it studies and groups in different social science texts, it study the group of the people, again not the institution, and the group of the people in different settings. Different groups in different area have behave differently. Even you go from one university to another. For example, if you go to the Bahawalpur University and the BZU Bahauddin Zakariya University Multan, Bahawalpur University is in Bahawalpur, you will see a big difference between there. So this behavioral approach is in a position to explain such behavioral differences among the people. Behavioralists that are the supporter of this, they use the strict methodology and empirical research to validate their study as a social science. Now there was a discussion of social and natural science. In the natural science, here you saw that they tried to make it behavioral sciences model on the natural sciences. Now what they use, the behavioralists use strict methodology and empirical research to validate their study as a social science. They try to prove it that it is a social science, but they used more quantitative method, more you can say the powerful definition to explain the public administration. What was the behavioralist approach was innovative. Innovation is the, you can say it earns more weightage as compared to other. If you are going in the status quo way, if you are not making significant changes, it's not going to get the ear of the people. The approach was innovative because why it was innovative? It changed the attitude of purpose of inquiry. पहले purpose of inquiry क्या कि inquiry करने के समय not the institution but the behavior of the people, their actions, their behavior and their acts. So this was the innovation for this. If simply you are asked to differentiate between this and the other approaches, this is the innovative in the sense that it was, if you remember, I just explained that it took a sharp change in the studying of the public administration. So it was innovative. It changed the attitude of inquiry. Inquiry is the purpose of all the approaches, whether it is behavioral, but whether it is systematic, whether it is scientific or contingent or ecological, whatsoever. So as it changed the purpose, that was the fundamental and the foundation stone, it became an innovative approach. During its rise in the popularity, 1960s and 70s. Now it is not well considered because now era of different more scientific theories. So during its rise in popularity in 60s and 70s, behavioralism changed the realist and liberal approaches. At that time, there were some of the real approaches towards the public administration. Some were the realist approach. They were concentrating on this. What was this? Which the behavioralists called traditionalism. उन्होंने कहा कि जो हो रहा है उसमें वो जो है वो ट्रेडिशनल है, and other studies of political behavior that was not based on the fact. They all called all those studies that they are not proper, that are just not functioning on the based of the fact. So after the popularity, it challenged both the parts. What were the realist and what were the liberalists? Definitely most of the time more autonomy to the people, more autonomy to the markets, and it was called the traditionalism by this. The behavioral approach continues, and it will continue 2 or 3 more slides to understand political behavior. Behavioralism uses sampling. अब आ गया इसमें stat quantitative techniques. I used to explain that it uses the quantitative method. When you go for the numbers, you need some data, you need some sample, you need some observation. Otherwise, what I can say that if you will give more incentive to the economic incentive to the employees, their efficiency will be increased. This is not the quantitative way, it is the qualitative way, because how much it will increase. For example, if I say that if I give 10% salary bonus, how much the efficiency will increase? If the per person they are producing 10 goods, whether they will produce 11, 12 or 13 goods. So for this, the behavioral approach use this, and it use sampling. What is the sampling? I think you are well aware of this. What is the sample? Population is the whole set of people or things in which you are interested. For example, if you are interested in studying the behavior of the students of the ComStats, so all the ComStat students are the population. Now you can't go from one place to another place, from one person to other person. Limited resources, limited time, and limited money. So you will be doing the sampling. What is the sampling? Sample is the true representative of the population to study the behavior. For example, if there are 1000 employees of the same rank, you just can take the 100 employees to study their behavior, choosing randomly without any differentiate. If you interview 100, even less people, you will come to know that what is the situation for this. Behavioralism study as sampling, then as you select the sample, then there are interviews. Interviews are also a very technical science, so as it is the part of this approach. In interviews, you should remember some of the things. Your questionnaires should be very simple. जो आपको इंटरव्यू दे रहा है वो आपका कोई गुलाम नहीं है. Your interview will be simple. It should be launched, it should be convened or completed at some comfortable time, that is to your interviewer. For example, if you go when the farmers are working in the field, then you are not going to get the true result. So this is on the interview. Your questionnaire should be standard. You should be well aware of this. You should have training of this. You should use particular enumerators to get this. Then there is the scoring and scaling. When you see some of the phenomena, most of the time there is Richter scale, and you explain, and you just bifurcate it from 1 to 7 or 1 to 5. So this is this one for that you take the scale and score. What is this? This is a one way to quantify the qualitative things. And when you all get this data, then you use the statistical analysis. What is the statistical analysis? There are many statistical analysis: correlation, regression, and dispersion, mean, median, mode. These are all the statistical method. These gives us the correlation, the linkage between the variables. The more complicated you techniques are using, it is more expected, not necessarily always true, that you are getting the true information from the data. Behavioralism studies how individuals behave in group positions realistically rather than how they should behave. ये फर्क इसमें सबसे ज़्यादा है. The other is should be normative or such kind of thing. They say that what the people are doing. Behavioral approach, if they come here and see me sitting before the camera, they just spot me, they see what I am speaking, what is my body language, what is my style. This is behavior approach. They not assume in mind that it should be this one. Definitely after this one, the suggestion will be and definitely should be there, because no man is perfect in this universe. So this is they real. It means it deals with the real analysis. This approach, that is this behavior approach, it deals with the real analysis. For example, a study of the Pakistan Parliament include a consideration of how members behave in their position. अब इस बात को भूल जाएं कि इनको कैसे behave करना चाहिए. Public जो है वो legislature. You can see they are sometimes sleeping. Even our ministers, Rahman Malik and others, Ishaq Dars and others, they are snoring in the when they have to give answer to the questions of the other raised by other politician. But what are this? The example is very clear that if you want to study the behavior of the people by the behavioral approach, you will go to the parliament, you will select your sample, you have learned about how to, just I have given you the brief sketch that how you will have to select your sample. You will go to the parliament and you will see that how they behave. ये हमारे टॉक शोज की तरह नहीं है कि जिसमें सजेशन भी जो है वो आ जाती है. यू विल जस्ट रिप्रेजेंट व्हाट यू कैन से, यू विल रिपोर्ट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग देयर. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ द पाकिस्तान लॉस्ट अगेंस्ट साउथ अफ्रीका व्हेन दे कुड नॉट चेज a very modest score of 182 or 183, if I am asked to apply the behavioral approach to study this phenomena, I will just write who did this, who won the toss, who did this, that and that. I will never say that Shahid Afridi should not play that shot at that critical time, because the average was not so high and he should just concentrate on the singles. He will never do, even I suggest he will never do, because after playing 400 one days, he is still not listening what the coaches and the others saying. So we are taking the Afridi in our context. That is the behavioral approach. It is his style and he should go for his style. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Our parliamentarians are also going into, some are making gupshup with each other, some are sleeping, some are working on the iPhones and whatsoever, mobiles and others. So if you are applying the behavioral approach, you will concentrate on this. Easton's intellectual foundation stones of behavioral approach. Easton have given some of the foundations that on which this behavior approach is based. The regularities. What are the when you study, you will have to remember what are the regularities. For example, if you come to me, the study of my behavior, two kinds of category regularities. How you have come to, what you are going to examine or analyze, and the other is what the regulations of the institution in which I am inducted to behave. The generalization and explanation of regularity. ये one very keen नहीं होनी चाहिए. एक general phenomena. Whenever, for example, if we go to the parliament, different parliaments all over the world have different criteria. So we will be just generally speaking. Generally speaking, what the regularities for these? I am just supposing that they should come prepared for the question and answer section. and then they should reply to the question rather than making up with each other. Commitment to verification, the ability to verify one's generalization. The other Easton's point is that behavioralism, that there should be commitment to verification, that the method you are using, the behavior you are using, the approach you are adopting, it should have the ability to verify one's generalization, not the peculiarities or the particularities. Techniques, an experimental attitude towards the techniques. जो टेक्निक्स आप यूज करते हैं ये नहीं है कि जी बस ये दिस इज द बेस्ट टेक्निक. नो, इट शुड बी टेकन इनटू मेनी टाइम, इट शुड बी टेकन इनटू कंसिडरेशन, and then after you should be an experiment approach. First you should have an experiment, then you should have to feedback some of the problem there, then you will have to apply. Quantify, in quantification, express result as numbers where possible or meaningful. It is not necessary that every time you can use the number, because sometimes behavior is measured in such a way that we cannot use the numbers. But whenever it is possible, use the numbers. Why we will be using the number? Because numbers convey the more concrete, true and standard picture before the audience or the spectators. They give, for example, if a person asks me that when the price will increase, the demand will decrease. And the other comes, he says that if the price of apples will increase by 5 rupees, its demand will decrease by 5%, then I will understand more appropriately as compared to the first one. So the quantification is the necessary. The behavioral approach is based on the quantification values. Keeping ethical assessment and empirical explanation distinct. अब ये जो है वो एथिकल को साइड पे जो है रखते हैं, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट द नॉर्मेटिव. एथिकल को दे से दे शुड बी डिफरेंट. व्हेन यू आर स्टडीइंग द बिहेवियर ऑफ द पीपल, यू शुड नॉट बी एन एथिकल पर्सन. यू शुड सी, यू शुड रिपोर्ट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग देयर. ये इस तरह होना चाहिए, ये इस तरह हो रहा है, ये इस तरह होगा तो बेहतर होगा. दीज आर नॉट द पार्ट ऑफ दिस आर दैट. Then other is the systemization, considering the importance of theory in research. Now as you start, there should have some support from the theory. You should not just jump into the field without any understanding, because systematically through first defining of the purpose, model, then collecting of the data, methodology, and an analysis, results, and then the implication for this or that. So it should be a systematic approach. This should be considering the importance of theory in research. Integration. All the parts have been done. Integrating social sciences and values. The theories from the social sciences, they should be integrated. For example, public administration gets support from the economics, sociology, psychology, anthropology and many other disciplines. So it should be studies, all the disciplines should be interlinked, intermixed, and they should be studies in the framework of the public administration. So how it is possible? When the different rivers are coming from different dimension, there should be one bridge that allowed all these rivers to flow in one area, and then this is the public administration. Criticism. What is the criticism on? The approach has come under fire from both conservative and radicals for the purported value neutrality. सबसे बड़ी इस पर तनकीद ये हुई है कि इसने values को एक साइड पे क्यों कर दिया. We say that we are not the ethicals, values are neutral, and the people say no, the values have a role in the performance and the public administration. Conservative sees the distinction between values and fact as a way of undermining the possibility of political philosophy. They say that if you will disintegrate the values and the facts, you are undermining the importance of the political philosophy. So it is very dangerous. Neil Raymer believes behavioralism dismisses the task of ethical recommendation. वो बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं. वो कह रहे हैं कि when we are just looking at this and this and we are saying that, we will not say that this should be and that should be. So what this means, so it means he is criticizing this in a right way, because behavioralists believe truth or falsity of values. Values have their values. This is important to say. What values carries weight, and these people who are criticizing this, they are criticizing that without the values we can't go further. So this was the, after this we will be talking about the systems approach. I would like to conclude this lecture here. Before concluding and giving you the summary, I would like to draw your attention on one of the article that I suggested in the I think third or fourth lectures by Faisal Bari, that was published in Dawn about the Hajj policy. If you will go through that, you will see a very poor representation of the public policy in the field of the Hajj. Hajj is a very sacred activity from the viewpoint of the Muslim, and you will see that despite knowing the fact, governments keep quiet and government doesn't interfere. There could be many reasons for this. There is the possibility that the person who are who are allowed to give that are called the agents, they have some indirect relation with the government officials and they are deliberately ignoring. But my purpose is not to tell you that this is that. I would like to say that look at this, that this is a very sacred phenomenon, and the whole world is concentrating on almost 20 million, 2 lakh people. 20 million people go for the Hajj, and when they reach there, everyone who comes back, you will see the charges were more, the services were low. When they asked that your hotel will be very near to that site, it was far away from there. They promised here that they will you will travel in Saudi Arabia from one place to other in air condition. There you will see they will say that this is not, or that is not the situation. So in such circumstances you should study that article in a very positive way, and you should see that government's role is there. Now I am talking the crux, that the government's role is necessary for this. If government comes on the back foots, the markets is unable to perform in a proper way, and there are distortions in the market. Market means the automatic systems, and the mighty or the powerful people exploit the innocent and the poor people. So what is the what conclusion of today's discussion? We talked about started from the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a very general type. People most of the time misconceive it, that only a person who has enough or extraordinary power, like the army chief of army staff or the police officer, they are the bureaucrat or the secretaries. But in my view, every person who holds the public office, he is bureaucrat in one way or the other. We saw different meaning of the bureaucracy. Some said this is the red tapeism. Some were in the position that they explained it that this is the subfields of the government, and many other definition for this or that. Ultimately, one thing is that the bureaucracy are the wheels of the public administration. If your wheels and tires and tears are strong, then it will work properly. Otherwise, it may go wrong and you face the problem. On later stage, when we prolonged our discussion, we started from the internationalization of the public administration, and I mentioned 2 or 3 public administration institutes that provide opportunity to the public administrator to be together at one place and share their experience to improve the discipline of the public administration. Many approaches are available to study the public administration. The most critical and the first one was that the behavioral approach, very simple, that it studies the things as they are, never gives suggestion plus minus for this. So it uses the scientific method like the sampling, the other techniques to reach the conclusion, and it recommends that if it is possible, the numbers should be used in one way or the other because they give the true picture of this. Many evolution of this and many definition for the behavioral approach, but one was this was the innovative, and it was clearly in the position that the ethics should be differentiated from the other things. So, and when we reached that on the criticism, we made the major criticism, from the literature, we saw that the literature says that if we separate the ethics and the other functioning, it undermines the importance of the political philosophy. We will inshallah keep on discussing the other approaches, that are the other 5 approaches, and then we will restrict ourselves to Pakistan, looking at the structure of legislature, judiciary, the executive, and many other things, and we will go in this way. So till the next lecture, goodbye and Allah Hafiz.